There's a strange pattern you'll notice if you pay close attention to people who have built real wealth. The more money they have, the less they seem to be obsessed with making more of it. Meanwhile, the people who constantly talk about getting rich are often the ones stuck in an endless cycle of chasing the next paycheck, the next promotion, or the next opportunity that promises quick results. That seems backward, doesn't it? We're taught that becoming wealthy is simply a matter of wanting money badly enough. Work harder, hustle longer, find another source of income, keep running, and eventually you'll reach the finish line. But if that were true, the people sprinting the hardest would always end up the richest. They don't. Look beyond the headlines, and a different picture begins to emerge. Many of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, investors, and business owners rarely describe their decisions as making more money. Instead, they talk about owning assets, controlling distribution, building systems, protecting time, or putting themselves in positions where opportunities naturally flow toward them. Money follows those decisions, but it isn't the decision itself. That distinction is more important than it first appears. Centuries ago, Machiavelli wasn't trying to explain how to become rich. He was trying to explain how influence is created and preserved. He understood that people who control the game rarely need to chase the rewards of the game. Whether the prize is political power, social influence, or financial wealth, the principle remains surprisingly consistent. Control creates outcomes. Chasing outcomes rarely creates control. You can see this in everyday life. One person spends years learning a valuable skill that gives them freedom to negotiate. Another spends those same years jumping from one opportunity to another, hoping for a bigger paycheck. They may earn similar amounts today, but they're building completely different futures. One is accumulating leverage, the other is accumulating transactions. Once you recognize this pattern, it's difficult to unsee it. Wealth stops looking like a pile of money and starts looking like a collection of advantages that quietly produce money over time. So perhaps the real question isn't why some people earn more than others. The more interesting question is this: if the richest people aren't actually chasing money, what invisible game are they playing instead? Think about the path that almost everyone is encouraged to follow. Study hard, get a good job, earn a raise, upgrade your lifestyle, repeat. On paper, every step looks like progress. Yet it's surprisingly common to meet someone earning twice as much as they did 10 years ago who still feels financially trapped. The paycheck grew, but the freedom never arrived. That's because income and wealth are not the same thing, even though we treat them as if they are. A larger salary solves today's problems. Wealth changes tomorrow's possibilities. Those are completely different outcomes. One helps you spend more, the other gives you more choices. Here's where the trap quietly appears. Every time your income rises, the world gives you endless reasons to raise your expenses right alongside it. A nicer apartment becomes a bigger house. A reliable car becomes a luxury vehicle. Vacations become more expensive. The restaurants improve. The subscriptions multiply. None of these decisions feel dramatic on their own, but together they create an invisible contract. You now need your higher income just to maintain the life you've built. Without realizing it, you're no longer chasing wealth. You're chasing the ability to support your own lifestyle. This is why two people earning exactly the same amount can end up living completely different lives. One sees every raise as permission to consume more. The other sees every raise as an opportunity to buy assets, invest in skills, or acquire ownership that keeps producing value long after the paycheck is spent. The difference isn't intelligence, it's direction. Society rewards income because it's easy to measure. Salaries can be compared, job titles can be displayed, expensive purchases are visible. Wealth, on the other hand, is often invisible. You can't immediately see someone's equity in a business, the investments quietly compounding in the background, or the systems they've built that generate income without demanding all of their time. That invisibility tricks us into optimizing for what everyone can see instead of what actually changes our future. This is why chasing money can become addictive. Every financial milestone feels like proof that you're moving forward, so the natural response is to chase an even bigger one. Another promotion, another client, another bonus, another side hustle. The pursuit itself becomes the goal. But there's a problem with living this way. If every dollar you earn depends entirely on your next hour of work, you've built a machine that constantly needs your attention. Stop running, and the machine slows down. Run faster, and it demands even more from you. The wealthy tend to ask a different question before they commit to any opportunity. They aren't only asking, how much will this pay me? They're asking, what will this give me control over 5 years from now? That single question changes almost every decision. Instead of measuring opportunities by immediate income alone, begin looking for signs of ownership, leverage, and future control. A smaller opportunity that builds an asset can be worth far more than a larger paycheck that disappears the moment it arrives. The first expands your options. The second often expands your obligations. Once you start looking through that lens, another realization begins to emerge. If money itself isn't the prize, then something far more valuable must be sitting at the center of the game. History offers a clue that modern finance often hides in plain sight. During the Renaissance, some of Italy's wealthiest merchant families didn't become powerful because they already had enormous fortunes. They became wealthy because they occupied positions that allowed them to influence trade, credit, and information before anyone else could. While others competed over individual transactions, they quietly controlled the conditions under which those transactions happened. That's a very different game. This is one of the ideas people often miss when they read Machiavelli. His focus wasn't on money itself, it was on position. A person who controls decisions, valuable knowledge, trusted relationships, or essential resources doesn't have to chase every opportunity. Opportunities begin finding them. You can see the same pattern today. The expert everyone consults before making a major decision. The business owner who owns the platform instead of selling on it. The investor with access to deals the public never sees. Their advantage isn't simply that they have more cash. Their real advantage is influence over the flow of value. That changes how you should think about your own career. Instead of asking only, how can I earn more this year? Ask, what skill, relationship, or asset would make me impossible to ignore 5 years from now? Expertise creates influence. Trust creates opportunities. Ownership creates leverage. Those forms of power often generate income long before a larger paycheck ever does. Once you begin building those advantages, money starts behaving differently. It becomes something you attract rather than something you constantly pursue. But that raises another puzzle. If power creates wealth so reliably, why do many of the wealthiest people seem willing to wait for years before they see the biggest rewards? Look at almost any business that has lasted for decades and you'll notice something interesting. In its early years, it rarely looked impressive. Growth was slow. Profits were often reinvested instead of celebrated. From the outside, it could even appear that faster-moving competitors were winning. Then, almost without warning, the gap became impossible to close. That wasn't luck. It was time doing what time does best, multiplying good decisions. This is why the wealthiest people often seem far less impatient than everyone else. They understand that a strong position becomes more valuable every year it's allowed to mature. A business earns trust, investments compound, relationships deepen, expertise becomes harder to replace. None of these rewards arrive quickly, but together they create an advantage that short-term gains simply can't match. The opposite approach feels exciting because it delivers constant action. Chasing the hottest investment, switching strategies every few months, or abandoning a worthwhile project because the results aren't immediate, creates the illusion of progress. In reality, each new pursuit often resets the clock. You keep starting over before anything has the chance to compound. A simple habit can completely change the way you make financial decisions. Before saying yes to an opportunity, ask yourself one question. Will this still benefit me 5 or 10 years from now? If the answer is no, you're probably buying a quick reward instead of building a lasting advantage. That doesn't mean every short-term gain is bad. It means the long-term position should always come first. Once you begin measuring success by where you'll stand years from now instead of weeks from now, patience stops feeling passive. It becomes a strategy. But that leads to an even more interesting question. If patience is such a powerful advantage, why do so many intelligent people abandon it the moment it matters most? A strange thing happens when money becomes the answer to every problem. The moment you earn more, your definition of enough quietly moves a little farther away. The raise that once felt life-changing becomes normal. The bigger home starts to feel ordinary. The new salary creates new obligations. Without noticing it, you're still running, just on a more expensive track. That's because scarcity isn't always a number in your bank account. More often, it's a story your mind keeps telling you. It whispers that one more promotion will finally make you feel secure. One more investment, one more bonus. Yet there are people earning millions who lie awake worrying they'll lose it all, while others with far less sleep peacefully because their lives aren't built on constant financial pressure. The difference isn't optimism, it's structure. Someone driven by fear reacts to every headline, every market swing, every opportunity that promises quick results. Their decisions change with their emotions. Someone who builds lasting wealth does something far less exciting. They create systems that keep working even when they aren't thinking about money. Investments happen automatically. Spending follows clear rules. Income comes from multiple sources instead of a single paycheck. Their confidence isn't based on today's balance, but on the machinery they've built behind it. Think about two people earning the same impressive income. One upgrades every part of life the moment more money arrives, convinced success must look successful. The other quietly increases ownership, strengthens cash flow, and keeps expanding systems that reduce dependence on any single job or market. Years later, one still needs the next paycheck to protect an expensive lifestyle. The other has gradually bought something far more valuable than status. Freedom from constant financial urgency. That's the shift Machiavelli would recognize. The greatest victories come from reducing your dependence on chance and emotion. Every time you notice yourself making a decision because you're afraid of missing out, falling behind, or proving something, pause. Ask instead, does this strengthen my system, or is it only calming today's anxiety? That single question reveals why lasting wealth belongs to people who master themselves before they try to master money. And once mindset is no longer the limiting factor, another question becomes impossible to ignore. What daily behaviors quietly separate temporary success from wealth that lasts for generations? If you watch people who quietly build wealth over decades, something stands out almost immediately. Their days don't look dramatically busier than everyone else's. They aren't always working longer hours or chasing every opportunity that appears. Instead, they spend an unusual amount of time creating situations where tomorrow becomes easier than today. That's a very different game. Someone relying only on effort has to keep earning the same dollar again and again. Someone building systems asks a different question. How can today's work continue paying me long after I'm finished? That single shift changes everything. You start to notice it in small, almost invisible habits. Instead of spending every extra dollar, they buy assets that can produce future income. Instead of collecting business cards, they build genuine relationships that create trust over time. Instead of consuming endless information, they develop expertise that becomes difficult to replace. And rather than renting every opportunity, they look for ownership. whether that's part of a business, investments, intellectual property, or skills that give them leverage in every negotiation. None of these decisions feels dramatic on a single day. That's exactly why most people overlook them. They expect wealth to come from one brilliant move, while the wealthy quietly stack dozens of small advantages until opportunities begin finding them instead of the other way around. Look at your own routine for a moment. How much of your week disappears into tasks that end the instant you stop working? And how much is invested in something that will still create value next year? That question is often more revealing than your salary. This is why strategic systems outperform constant effort. Effort keeps you moving. Systems keep producing even when your attention shifts. A trusted reputation introduces you before you enter the room. Strong relationships open doors you never had to knock on. Investments continue working while you sleep. Ownership quietly compounds while others are starting over each month. The goal isn't to become busier. It's to become harder to replace and less dependent on trading hours for income. Once you begin designing your life around leverage instead of labor, money starts behaving less like something you chase and more like something your decisions naturally attract. Yet even people with great habits and powerful systems often lose what they've built. And the reason isn't usually a lack of intelligence. It's one silent weakness that waits until success finally arrives. One of the easiest ways to slow down your journey to wealth is to convince yourself you already look wealthy. It's a subtle trap because it rarely feels like a mistake. A luxury car becomes a reward for hard work. A designer watch feels like proof that you've made it. A larger house seems like the natural next step. None of these purchases is inherently wrong. The question is far more uncomfortable. Are they increasing your future freedom or simply advertising today's success? That's where ego quietly enters the conversation. Ego doesn't always demand applause. Sometimes it only wants reassurance. It wants other people to see progress before that progress has fully matured. The problem is that every dollar spent maintaining an image is a dollar no longer building ownership, buying productive assets, or creating opportunities that continue paying long after the excitement of the purchase fades. People often assume the wealthy spend lavishly because they can. Yet many who build lasting fortunes develop the opposite instinct. They protect their ability to invest before they protect their appearance. They understand that real power grows best when it isn't constantly being displayed. Look around and you'll notice the difference. One person receives a financial windfall and immediately upgrades everything visible. Another quietly acquires another investment, funds a business, learns a valuable skill, or strengthens relationships that expand future opportunities. From the outside, the first person appears more successful. Years later, the second often has far greater freedom. This is why performing wealth can delay becoming wealthy. Status is expensive to maintain because it depends on constant consumption. Wealth, on the other hand, is strengthened by restraint. It asks you to delay recognition today, so your options become larger tomorrow. A useful habit is to pause before any significant purchase and ask a simple question. Will this make me more capable or simply more impressive? Capability compounds. Impressions fade remarkably fast. The people worth impressing usually care far more about your judgment than your possessions anyway. Machiavelli understood that visible displays of power often attract unnecessary attention, while quiet strength creates room to maneuver. The same principle applies to wealth. The less energy you spend proving your success, the more energy you can devote to expanding it. By this point, the pattern should be becoming clear. Money alone isn't the objective. Neither is power by itself, and appearances can easily become a distraction. So if none of those is the true prize, what is the complete game that the wealthiest people are actually playing? By now, one pattern should be impossible to ignore. The people who build lasting wealth rarely spend their lives chasing the next paycheck. They build something that keeps working after today's effort is over. A business that serves customers while they sleep. investments that grow without constant attention, skills that make opportunities seek them out, relationships that open doors years after a single conversation. Money becomes the result, not the objective. Think about two people standing at the same crossroads. One accepts every opportunity that promises fast cash, even if it leads nowhere. The other asks a different question. Will this decision give me more options 5 years from now? At first, the first person often looks more successful. But over time, the second quietly accumulates ownership, trust, experience, and freedom. Those invisible assets eventually produce financial results that short-term wins rarely match. This is the deeper lesson behind Machiavelli's thinking. Power is not loud. It is the ability to choose instead of react. Wealth follows the same principle. When you control your time, own productive assets, protect your reputation, and make decisions without being driven by fear or impulse, you create leverage. And leverage attracts opportunities that hard work alone cannot. A simple framework can change the way you make financial decisions. Before asking, "How much will this pay me today?" ask, "Does this increase my ownership? Does it expand my future choices? Does it strengthen my leverage? Will I be glad I made this decision 10 years from now?" Those questions often lead to very different answers. That is when wealth stops being a number in a bank account and becomes a way of thinking. Money is no longer the finish line. It becomes evidence that you've learned to play a much larger game. One built on patience, leverage, independent judgment, and choices that continue paying long after they are made. If there's one idea worth carrying with you after this conversation, it's this. The wealthiest people don't spend their lives asking how to make more money. They spend their lives building things that make money more likely to find them. They invest in ownership instead of appearances, leverage instead of busyness, patience instead of urgency, and disciplined decisions instead of emotional reactions. Wealth isn't the reward for chasing money. It's the byproduct of thinking differently for a long time. The next time you're faced with a financial choice, pause for a moment. Don't just ask whether it will increase your income this month. Ask whether it gives you more control over your future. Does it build a skill, an asset, a relationship, or a system that keeps creating value long after today's effort is finished? Those are the decisions that quietly reshape a lifetime. Machiavelli understood that lasting power belongs to those who play the long game. The same is true of lasting wealth. The moment you stop making money the goal and start making leverage the goal, money begins working harder for you than you ever worked for it.